evening, everybody. It's your host, Huge Pop from the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Tonight, our guest is on the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast is an attorney in Tennessee. He's been around many of the legends in the wrestling world. Our guest is a manager on the independent pro wrestling circuit. He is known as one of the dirtiest managers in the business today, other than his mouth.
Most successful. I think that's what you meant to say.
Other than his mouth, like you see, he totes around this stupid briefcase. I believe his favorite phrase is "shut up and listen," like on that t-shirt. Please welcome to HPWP, Lucky Pete Larson Esquire, manager of Stars. How's it going tonight, Lucky Pete Larson?
Well, first of all, let me correct you, as I generally have to do with most people. As you can see, it's "shut up, you might learn something." Not "shut up and listen." Shut up, you might learn something. And obviously, you didn't pay attention and you didn't learn something. See, those are my diplomas. I am a lawyer. I'm smarter than the rest of you. So if you all shut up, you might learn something. And as far as whatever you called me, dirty or despicable or any other compliment you choose to give me, I take that as most successful because I currently stand at 41 champions crowned and counting, not to mention the fact that I currently manage several champions in several different promotions. So I'll take that as what it's worth, but thank you.
Successful that it be, dirtiest player in the game that it be too. We will continue on. So can you tell me from the originally what your experience in the wrestling world was like as a kid growing up?
Well, I was one of the smart few that knew Hulk Hogan was a talentless hack and that Roddy Piper was the greatest professional wrestler to ever enter into the squared circle.
So I was going to save that question for later. So you're not a fan of the man, which I think changed the dynamics of wrestling when he walked down that ramp in Daytona Beach and at Bashford Beach and dropped that leg on Macho Man Randy Savage and birthed the NWO. So you're not a fan of him.
Now, I don't disagree necessarily with that statement that was a definite game-changing moment. However, that is also not the same Super Hogan that I grew up having force-fed down my throat. And no matter what anybody did to him, you could shoot Hulk Hogan with a machine gun. He was going to kick out at 2.5. So I was a big fan of Roddy Piper and most of the heels growing up. Even back then, I knew where my bread was buttered and where my allegiance lay.
So I see back there that you're a Boston fan. You're from Boston, right?
Well, let's see. Let's look at my wall over there. Yes, I would say so. And then, of course, over here, you've got plenty of autographed baseballs, footballs, a helmet autographed by the entire Patriots team, including Tom Brady. You got some hats, hockey helmets. Yeah, I would say I'm a Boston fan of the soon-to-be 18-time world champion Boston Celtics.
I mean, I don't want to get off the track of wrestling, but you and I have to agree to disagree. You are a fan of the cheaters of NFL. You are a Boston.
Like Bill Belichick. We have never cheated a day in our life.
Absolutely not. Like I said, we'll agree to disagree.
Then explain one thing. Explain to me one thing there, Big Shot. Explain how after they took out these supposed deflated footballs, the Patriots went on a 28-0 run for the rest of the game. The Colts were closer with the balls than without them. And it's been disproven several times by several scientific studies. It's simply they hate us because they ain't us, period, the end. And no, I didn't say anus. I said ain't us.
Right. But, and I say we'll disagree to agree or agree to disagree because I'm a Detroit Pistons fan. I'm a Detroit Tigers fan. I'm a Detroit Lions fan. And
good. So then you probably respect Bill Laimbeer, who was one of the dirtiest players in the entire sport of basketball.
I do.
Yeah,
he was great. He was great.
Yeah. That shows where your morals are. You follow anybody that puts on your team's jersey.
I follow the best team. They were called the Bad Boys for a reason, right?
Because Bill Laimbeer and Dennis Rodman were bad examples for the youth of this country. And Dennis Rodman went off and became friends with Kim Jong-un. That's somebody you want to model yourself after. Good job. You do that. I'll instead model myself after Larry Bird and the soon-to-be 18-time champions with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And Mr. Porzingis is going to come back and shut down the entire Mavs, and as long as Kyrie Irving doesn't win, I'll be good.
I'm sorry, I'm a Mavs fan, so they're gonna win. So
no, they're not.
Five games. That's it.
Okay. As long as we win 4 of them.
So you're from Boston, and so you are good friends with Kevin Sullivan, right?
I am friends with Kevin Sullivan. I know him very well. My closest friend in all of professional wrestling, unfortunately, passed away last year, and that was the very underrated and underappreciated Lanny Poffo. He was not only one of my closest friends in wrestling, but one of my closest friends in the entire world.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a great loss for sure. For sure.
It was through Lanny that I was able to attend my first of 3 WrestleMania after parties. I helped Lanny write his Hall of Fame speech. I actually still have it memorized because I heard it so many times before he gave it that I can still give it. I stand here at the Hall of Fame in honor of my brother who sees each Carpe Diem day with passion like no other. Born Randy Mario Poffo, he became the Macho Man. Randy Savage made it cool to be a wrestling fan. His match with Ricky Steamboat in 1987 on a scale of 1 to 10 was much greater than 11. He snapped into a Slim Jim with his iconic voice. He scored a role in Spider-Man that made his fans rejoice. When the Mega Powers exploded, the storyline was real. Life's too short to hold a grudge. Now's the time to heal.
Impressive and so true. I 100% agree with that. Yes, 100%. So, let's talk about getting into the business. And so, how did you get into wrestling profession?
I got to know a wrestler and a promoter, and through the 2 of them, it just turned out that I was given an opportunity. The wrestler was Mike Rapata, the Colorado kid, who I can't stand unless he puts on face paint and becomes the Joker, at which point he's one of my closest allies. And the promoter was the legendary Burt Prentice, who passed away a couple of years ago and shattered Tennessee wrestling. I had given Bert, I had met Mike because his cousin was a receptionist at my law firm. And so he would come in and I got to know him. He knew me as a big wrestling fan. He introduced me to Bert and I helped Bert out with some advice. And eventually Bert asked me if I had any dreams in wrestling that he could help fulfill since I had done a lot for him. I said yes. I mentioned a talent that I would like to have met. He said he didn't think he could do that, although it turned out later I would manage this person 3 times. So it worked out quite well for me. But he said, anything else? I said, well, I'm too old to be a wrestler. He said, yeah, but you know what? I think you'd be a good heel manager. I think people would hate you. I said, thank you, I think. And so he gave me an opportunity. I managed Mike Rapata as the Joker and another wrestler as the Riddler. I was told to pick a name. I picked a name, which is a whole nother story, and then did one show, thought it was over. He called me a couple days later, asked what I thought of it. I told him that I had a blast and it was great being on the other side of the curtain, seeing how things go. He said, good, because you have to come back. I said, what do you mean I have to come back? I mean, I'm fine to come back. And he said, well, I started getting phone calls saying you were the most entertaining part of the show because we don't use managers much anymore. And you added something that we haven't had in a long time. I didn't believe him, but it turned out that that's actually what happened because I got to know a few of the guys that made those phone calls, and they were the core of what became the Legion of Lucky, which was my fan club eventually. So I started working for Bert and started doing more and more shows. And then it got to the point where he told me, Lucky, don't even ask me if you're on the shows. It doesn't matter if you're on the poster. It doesn't matter who's there. If there's a USA ring up, I expect you to be there. So every Thursday and or Friday and or Saturday for about 4 or 5 years, I went all over Tennessee and Metropolis, Illinois, and a few other places working for Burt Prentice and USA Championship Wrestling, and then started to expand my horizons. And here I am about 8 years later and have a long list of accomplishments that I think is pretty damn impressive for someone like me.
Damian Wayne is on the chat. And he says, don't let that guy lie to you. His wife says, and Lucky P cheats all the time. So I'm pretty sure you know Damian Wayne.
I have managed Damian Wayne many a time, and I believe we even have a winning record.
Okay.
I like Damian. Damian Wayne is a good man, a good talent, and a good guy.
Absolutely. I met him out at Panama City Beach, Florida at Extreme Impact Wrestling, XIW, ran by Adrian Whisper, John Saxon, and all those guys. So yeah, that's how I became in love with independence.
I have managed Damian Wayne, the unpredictable one, in several different companies throughout Tennessee.
Absolutely. So that story, how ironic you would say there's a story. This is not a rated PG, not for kids thing, but so can you tell us about how you got Lucky Pete Larson Esquire?
All right. Well, first of all, that's not the name I went by for the first 2 years of my career. When I was told by Bert Prentice, you need to come up with a name, you're going to manage the Joker and the Riddler. And I managed against LT Falk and Daniel Eads. Turned out I would end up managing LT Falk several times for several different runs in several different companies and won a few championships with LT Falk, a few of the 41. But at the time, I was managing the Joker and the Riddler, and I was told, come up with an identity, come up with a name. I said, all right. I was watching the old 1966 Batman show with my oldest son. And it was the episode where the Joker and Catwoman, played by Eartha Kitt, who was just perfect, got arrested and actually went on trial. It's the only time anybody in Gotham City's ever gone on trial, because normally they're out by the next episode with a whole new gang. But this time they actually went to trial. And their lawyer never asked a question, never made a statement, never questioned a witness, but he won every single case because he bribed every single jury. And his name was Lucky Pierre. He was played by Pierre Salinger, who was a press secretary to the White House at one point. So I said, all right, perfect. Pierre, that works. And Lucky Pierre, he's the Joker's lawyer. I'll be Lucky Pierre. So they announced me as being accompanied to the ring by their attorney, Lucky Pierre. And so I was Lucky Pierre. And I was Lucky Pierre for the first couple of years. And I started making T-shirts that said Lucky Pierre on them in the middle of a briefcase, sold out of a few batches of T-shirts as the character was getting more and more over, which Bert always said he knew what happened. I still don't understand how, but okay. And eventually we signed a TV deal with WBBJ. And I'm going to be on TV. And there's rumblings that at some point I'm going to be the color commentator, which I ended up being, and am now the color commentator for SICW out of St. Louis, Illinois, or Southern Illinois, St. Louis, Missouri area. And I had a partner in my law firm tell me, yeah, you cannot go on TV as Lucky Pierre. You can't do that. And I said, why not? They said, do you know what Lucky Pierre means? And I said, yeah, it was the Joker's lawyer on Batman. He said, no, it was not. I said, yes, it was. He was played by Pierre Salinger. I can prove it. He said, okay, that's fine. That may be true. I said, it is true. He said, that's not all it means. I said, okay, what else does it mean? He said, have you ever heard of Urban Dictionary? I said, uh-oh. Because although I'd never heard of the term, I've heard of Urban Dictionary. And I know if it's an Urban Dictionary, it's not good. So I looked it up and I realized what it meant. And I said, oh, hell no. I said, number one, I did not know that. Number two, I'm okay with the fact that I did not know that. Number three, and more curious right now, how in the blue hell did you know that? So I found out what it meant, and I called Bert, and I told him, I said, I am not going on TV as Lucky Pierre. And he laughed his head off, asked me why. I'm convinced Bert already knew. And so we came up with something else. He wanted it to be an alliteration like Triple H. Lucky L. Larson is what he suggested. But since my fan club had already come out with bumper stickers and things that said, don't vote for me, don't blame me, I voted for Lucky P. As in Lucky Pierre, he agreed to make it Lucky P. Larson. So for the last 6 or so years, I've been Lucky P. Larson. And of course, I am a shoot lawyer. In fact, I've represented many of the larger names in this business that you would be surprised to know about, and some you might not be surprised to know about. So yeah, and half the locker rooms I'm in Tennessee.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Great story. Thank you, sir. So you carry on that briefcase, and one thing I love about you as a manager, and you can remind me of when I watched wrestling as a kid when they had Mr. Fuji, Captain Lou Albano, all Slick, everybody.
Single heel had a manager, whether it was Freddie Blassie, Mr. Fuji, Jimmy Hart, Slick, Johnny Valiant, Bobby Heenan, Percy Pringle, Oliver Humperdinck, J.J. Dillon, you name it, Slick, Paul Ellering, Jim Cornette. Every heel had a manager.
Yes. And
or
somebody. And they're different than the managers today. You guys get involved.
Yeah, there is no managers today. Paul Heyman, greatest mic man on earth. And whether I'm in full work mode or shoot mode, I'm never going to tell you I'm better than Paul Heyman on the mic, because I'm not. And when someone tells me I'm a Paul Heyman wannabe, I tell them I take that as a compliment. But Paul Heyman does not generally get physically involved.
No.
The most he'll do is maybe slide in the belt at some point. He sells with his facial expressions. And as I said, he's absolutely gold on the mic. Everything he says, you want to listen to. But he doesn't necessarily get physically involved. I, however, have been wormed by the boogeyman. I've been hit with Jim Cornette's tennis racket, with Jimmy Hart's megaphone. I've been beaten up by Jerry Lawler more times than I can count. I've been beaten up by Coco Beware. I've been knocked out with Cowboy Bob Orton's cast. I've been beaten up by Mr. Hughes and Rob Conway and Shane Strickland. I've been kicked in the face by the Berserker. I've been caned by Kimona and hit with a steel chair by Rikishi. I've been low blowed by Brian Christopher, super kicked by Solo Sikoa. This is just off the top of my head. I can go on and on.
So with all that said, did you have to get training for taking bumps like that, or was that just something that they said, here, this is what's going to happen, get ready?
A little of both.
Okay.
There are some moves that I have had some experience with, and some moves that I did not necessarily know was coming.
So how'd that tennis racket feel?
An honor. I absolutely took it as an honor that I got nailed by Jim Cornette.
And you ate the worms, huh?
I brought in the boogeyman to tear apart Jerry Lawler in my never-ending feud with Jerry Lawler that has gone on for several years in West Tennessee. I've managed Scott Steiner against him, Rhino against him, the Moondog against him, James Ellsworth against him, much of the local town around here against him, Tommy Rich against him, Doug Gilbert against him. And when I brought in the boogeyman, he decided to turn on me. Lawler decked me. Jimmy Hart threw me in the ring, and the boogeyman wormed me.
Nasty.
It's not all bad. I've also managed the gorgeous Katie Lee, my good close friend Missy Hyatt, Lanny Poffo, those names I just gave you before, and several others, plus the current three-time SICW tag team champions, the greatest tag team on God's green earth, the LA Hustlers. I also manage the measuring stick of tag teams, the Professionals, Mahler McDarby and Sean Santel. I manage the Walking Mountain, Kowalski, and I manage the most dangerous man in SICW, Axe Allwart. I also manage the headliner, Chris Michaels, the current Billy Pace Memorial Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. I manage the Sharp Dressed Men, Lawrence and James, the current Pro Wrestling Alliance Tag Team Champions. I also manage what will soon be, once again, the Tennessee Championship Wrestling Tag Team Champions, Brad Bad and Sean Hoodrich. I also manage the two-time former TCW champion, MJ Davis. And of course, I manage the best big man in the business, who is going to soon be the Gathering champion at T-Mart Presents The Gathering in Charlotte, North Carolina, the Gathering 5, the good friend of mine, Bam Bam Bundy.
Now I'm figuring out who you look like. Controversial Inc. is a tag team known around the South. I don't know if you've heard of them up there. But they have this bald-headed guy running around with the suit on as well, getting involved in their matches too. So now I understand.
I am not bald. I am balding. Can you not see this?
Well,
this is hair. I am balding, not bald. Big difference. KC Gold is bald. Drew Abbenhouse is bald. I am balding. There's a big difference.
Okay. Whatever. So
it's a fact.
So there's this guy that's in here that,
and on the sides of my head. It's balding, not
Okay,
bald.
balding. But I got this guy in here that's just blowing up the chat. His name's Aaron Wallace.
Of course it is.
And he said, you don't deserve to have those tag team champions.
You tell Waco or the Uber Destroyer that he can stick it in his pipe and smoke it. They're the greatest tag team on God's green earth. They're the three-time SICW tag team champions. They've won tag team championships all over this country. I've led them to other tag team championships, and he should be glad that they're lowering themselves to grace someone like him with their presence.
Aaron wants to know, what if the professionals have a tag team championship opportunity against the LA Hustlers?
Well, that hasn't happened, has it? Because I'm smart enough, and I'm too smart. It's all in the family. We're all for one and one for all in the Dogtown Underground. He can wish in one and crap in the other and see which one fills up first.
He says, I'm not a Waco or Uber Destroyer, and I'm not a wrestler. I'm a paid fan. Who the hell? What's a paid fan?
Who on earth is paying him to be a fan? We don't need paid fans. SICW is the greatest wrestling organization in the entire area. St. Louis, Illinois, anywhere around there. Bar none. It is the greatest company. That's why it had the Fan Fest again with tons of Hall of Famers and legends. You had the One Man Gang. You had Tugboat. You had Medusa. You had Roxy Astor and Sonny from Glow. You had Jerry Briscoe. You had Cowboy Bob Orton. You had Wendy Richter. You had Haku. You want to tell Haku that we're not the greatest? Let Aaron Wallace tell Haku there's a better company out there than SICW in that area. Goodness gracious.
I'm just answering. I'm just giving these guys. Maybe I shouldn't give these guys on the chat a chance to talk. Maybe I should just.
They can say whatever they like. I'm giving them an opportunity to learn something. Just because I'm smarter than them and I have a full mouth of teeth and I know what a shower is and a bar of soap, you know, I can't help. You can't cure stupid.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I know I'm right. I'm always right.
Let's talk about your involvement with the promotion ran by Herb Simmons. Are you a fan of Herb Simmons?
Of course. As a promoter, yes. As a person who treats us fairly, hell no. I give credit where credit is due. I'm a student of this game. I've been a fan for most of my life, and I've been extremely successful in everything I've touched in the wrestling business. I've won championships everywhere I go. I've won four SICW tag team championships because I also led Mahler, McDaubrey, and Kowalski to the tag team titles. I also led Kowalski to the Central States title. So, oh my gosh.
I'll read this. I'll read this. Hi.
That does not even deserve to be read in English. Ray Bork is one of the greatest hockey players to ever step foot on the ice. And anyone who thinks he's overrated is obviously a complete moron that has never gotten on ice himself, doesn't even know how to skate probably, and probably couldn't tell you the last time the Boston Bruins won the Stanley Cup, which I can after we beat Vancouver. In fact, I got to paint the autograph picture right on my wall there. But anyway, as I was saying, I've won 5 championships in SICW in my short time there. Herb Simmons runs an excellent promotion because that's why all these stars and legends go there. Since I've been there, I've seen Nick Aldis be there. I've seen Kevin Sullivan be there. I've seen Haku. I've seen the Barbarian. I've seen Tony Atlas. I've seen Bob Orton. I've seen Dutch. I've seen Tommy Rich. I've seen many, many stars there. They don't come there because SICW is not the greatest. Now, is Herb Simmons fair? Hell no. He's got a vendetta against Lucky P. Larson Esquire in the Dogtown Underground. He refuses to entertain the very generous offer from my good personal friend Stephen E. and his investors. Do I think he's fair? No, he's biased. He gives the squirt guns a million opportunities. Good. Let's see how many Stanley Cups the Blues have compared to how many championships the Bruins have. Then let's compare the St. Louis NBA team. Oh, wait, that's right. There is no St. Louis NBA team. Meanwhile, we've got 17 championships and we'll have 18 in a few weeks.
Nah.
And then, of course, St. Louis Rams. Let's see. The St. Louis Rams lost to the Patriots the last Two times we played you in the Super Bowl. The St. Louis Cardinals lost to the Red Sox the last two times. Two times you played us in the World Series. You don't even have a basketball team. So why don't you just take your one little victory and go stick it where the sun don't shine? Thank you. Now, going back to I respect what deserves to be respected. Herb Simmons runs a great promotion. Is he fair? No. Do I like him? No. But is SICW the greatest promotion in that area? Absolutely.
Okay.
Partly because I work there.
So 2 nights ago, okay, so singles competitor Kowalski
And
as a set.
here I say I'm the greatest color commentator on television. And you can watch and be entertained by Dr. Drew and myself every Sunday night live at 8 p.m. Central on YouTube.
So Kowalski is one of your guys, right?
Yes. That's why I said I manage the Walking Mountain Kowalski.
But obviously he's not the Central States champion anymore because my guest a few nights ago, Steve Fender, is the Central States champion. What happened then? Why did you get outmanaged?
Okay, well, first of all, you obviously didn't do your homework because Kowalski was the Central States champion about a year ago.
Okay.
Since then, I've been focused on other things, and he hasn't even been given another Central States title shot because they're afraid to give him a shot because they don't want the Dogtown Underground to have any more championships in our camp.
You're focused on other things, so you must not be focused on your talent.
No, I'm focused on winning other championships. The Central States Championship right now is very well represented by Stephen Fender. I have great respect for the Super. When it was held by Bobby D, that glory hound thief, no. But I was willing to let my good personal friend and my Canadian hero, Sean Vincent, go after him.
What a jerk.
I was instead focused on the tag team titles and waiting for my men to earn their rightful place and get the Classic Wrestling Championship heavyweight title match. But Herb Simmons, again, is anti-Dogtown Underground, anti-Kowalski, because he knows nobody can beat Kowalski. And now that Axe Allwart is in the camp of Lucky P. Larson Esquire, and he's continuing to put out wrestler after wrestler after wrestler with his devastating pile driver, he will pile drive absolutely everyone on this roster until the rightful title shot. And if that means he's got to pile drive Herb Simmons, if that means he's got to pile drive every referee to get to the big goof, that's what's going to happen. Mark my words, Axe Allwart will be the new Classic champion when he gets his shot. And the only thing that will prevent that from happening is if Kowalski gets to it first.
I agree, Aaron. Is that Sean Vincent being brainwashed by you? Absolutely. Well, hey, look, he's a Canadian, so he doesn't need to be brainwashed. He's just stupid as it is.
I don't have to brainwash anybody. Sean Vincent is a man of integrity. Sean Vincent was the SICW
integrity
long before I got there. Sean Vincent and I see things eye to eye, and I happen to be one of the few people that shows him the proper respect when he comes out there. When he comes out there and wants to sing the Canadian national anthem or wave the Canadian flag. I'm a big fan of what he has done with Big Nasty Glenn Williams. I'm a big fan of Sean Vincent, and it's just very unfortunate that he hurt himself saving 1,000 drowning kids from a lake and then jumped off a 2-story bridge into a burning building to run in and save a bunch of old women and orphans and nuns, and in doing so hurt his knee.
Gotcha. Sean Vincent, not a fan. Not a fan.
Well,
not a fan of him. So that's just me. I just not a fan.
Well, you're entitled to be wrong.
Well, you're entitled to manage a loser, I guess, right?
Well, let's see. I've managed 41 champions. I currently manage the SICW Tag Team Champions for the 3rd time, the Billy Pace Memorial Heavyweight Champion, the PWA Tag Team Champions. I'm about to manage the TCW Tag Team Champions. Yeah, lots of losers in my camp.
Rick DeSanto, what's up, gentlemen? Hope you have a great evening. Thank you, Rick.
Well, there's someone who actually is respectful.
True. How many wrestlers? How many wrestlers have you managed? How many wrestlers have you managed in total? Do you have any idea?
No, innumerable.
Okay.
Because There are many, many, many wrestlers I've managed for long periods of time. I've been the mouthpiece / manager for a number of factions, including the Legion of Lucky, including the Rat Pack, including the Dogtown Underground. And then there have been plenty of people who have wanted me to manage them on a specific card so that they could have a better chance. I've managed men, I've managed women. I've even wrestled a number of times myself.
So, Aaron Wallace, yeah, you're correct. You are absolutely correct, Aaron. Actually, Sean Vincent injured himself in a match with Curtis Wilde. He asked me if I watched the match. He obviously didn't watch what happened to Sean Vincent. So, who's the smart one here? You and me, Aaron.
Considering the fact that here is the lawyer in me. Considering the fact that this quote says, and I quote, injured his own ankle. Am I reading that correctly?
Injured himself in a match with Curtis Wilde.
The last 4 words, injured his own ankle correctly.
And he dove outside and injured his own ankle, yes.
Okay. Sean Vincent does not have an ankle injury. He has a knee injury right now. That's why he's on crutches. That's why he had surgery on his knee. This man knows nothing.
But he doesn't. But Sean Vincent didn't jump off a high rise either.
Has nothing to do with it. It's not how he injured himself. He didn't injure his knee doing that. Even Aaron Wallace says he thought he injured his ankle doing that. His ankle is not what's keeping him out. He doesn't have his ankle in a boot. He has his knee in a brace. Anybody to the Fan Fest would see that.
But he has a defense lawyer. Obviously, you're a defense lawyer because you lied because he jumped off a ring, not a building, like you said, to save old women.
No. I said that's how he got injured. Jumping off the ring in a match with Curtis Wilde is not how he got injured. He got injured saving 1,000 nuns, orphans, and children from burning buildings and lakes.
Delusional.
Aaron Wallace is delusional. You're right.
Who do you think choked harder? You when the ref's back is turned, or 2010 Celtics against? Oh shit!
I think I would, if given those choices, I think I would go with the 2007 or 2008 Lakers that had a 40-point lead and choked it away to the Boston Celtics, who won the championship. I think that's more of a choke job. Thanks for playing, though.
But why can't you? Why? I tell my kids that I take care of. Own your losses. He's right.
I do. I absolutely own my losses. I have lost a number of championships because refs have been paid off. The other side has cheated. They've pinned the illegal man. I mean, when Cowboy Bob Orton and Tony Atlas beat the LA Hustlers for the tag team titles, they pinned the wrong man. They pinned an illegal man. Everybody saw it. So what did we do? We got a rematch and we won it back.
So when you use that briefcase for the win, that's a legal win because you're doing it?
I've never used the briefcase. I don't know what you're talking about.
When you slide the briefcase in for them to use it, that's a legal win?
If somebody that we're facing tries to grab the briefcase from me, slips and hits themselves with it, that is not. I'm on my 8th briefcase right now because so many people have tried to steal my briefcase. This briefcase was personally given to me by my good friend Missy Hyatt, and that's why I still have it.
So it sounds like you manage those LA Hustlers. They're not as good as they think that you think they are because they use stuff to their advantage that you hand them in or whatever.
I don't know what you're talking about. You're obviously looking at doctored footage. Are you going to tell me that Tom Hanks actually met President Kennedy? Are you going to tell me that Jeff Goldblum was actually chased by a velociraptor? Are you going to tell me that Christopher Reeve can actually fly? No. It's all camera tricks,
camera tricks.
Special effects, yes.
I see. Maybe you need to take those black glasses off so you can see reality a little bit better.
I see everything just fine. I saw the LA Hustlers beat the squirt guns or their replacement squirt gun with the Hustle and Flow, one of the most devastating tag team combo moves in wrestling today. Unlike the squirt guns who sit there and use a 25 to 45 second count to use their illegal rocket launcher while the refs stand there and go.
So, Aaron, I think his vision is clogged, Aaron, because, yes, did you see the Philadelphia Eagles beat the New England Patriots in a Super Bowl years ago? Did you see that?
I have seen the Patriots lose in the Super Bowl a few times. I've also seen them win more Super Bowls than any other team in the NFL, with the exception of the Steelers, with whom they are tied at 6. When you come even close to that, let us know. Well, let's see. Did we attack Joe Vanetti backstage? He wasn't even there, let alone backstage. Aaron Wallace would have no idea what happened. We had nothing to do with Joey Vanetti's injury. We were prepared, ready, and able and wanting to beat up the cap guns, the body guns, the squirt guns of Brandon Beretta and Joey Vanetti. As I said before, they on their best day cannot beat the LA Hustlers on their worst. But you give a million monkeys, a million typewriters in a million years, one of them is going to type out the great American novel. So congratulations on their 2,743rd time. The Squirt Guns got one over on the LA Hustlers when Herb Simmons gave them every type of advantage they want. Special refs, special stipulations, special matches. And then what happened when they had to fight again and defend them? They went right back where they belong. That's what you call a fluke. Next.
So I guess D-Rad, I don't know. I don't agree with you, D-Rad. I've not met Mr. Larson. I have. It's Mr. Lucky Pete Larson, Esquire, manager of Stars, not just Mr. Larson, Esquire. But he says you make perfect, plenty of sense to him. Trust me. Nah.
Well, see, as I said, there are some smart people there. In fact, at the last show, after the Fan Fest, I had a group of fans, 4 of them come up to me, and all 4 of them wanted to buy my t-shirt. And there's a picture up on the Lucky P. Larson Facebook page of all 4 of them with my t-shirt on. As there is a picture of Roxy Astor in it, Missy Hyatt in it, Katie Lee with it, Rikishi with it, Jimmy Hart with it, Ernest the Cat Miller wearing it. I've had many, Rikishi holding on to it. I've had many, many stars appreciate the brilliance it is Lucky P. Larson and my logo, my motto on life: shut up, you might learn something.
So is Roxy Star under your management?
Roxy Astor is retired.
Sorry, okay. I'm trying to get her on the show, so hopefully you can help me out doing that, man.
But I believe that you'll also find Hollywood from Glow on there talking about Lucky P. Larson Esquire as well.
I've reached out to her too, and hopefully they will. They seem to be interested in the show to come on the show, but this show's your show, so I'm not going to even talk about that anymore.
I am fortunate that I am friends with all of them, with Roxy Astor, with Sonny from Glow, with Hollywood from Glow.
Okay, so maybe you can give me a good shout out to them. You know, I am trying to.
Joe Arusa, aka Lightning from Glow.
Okay. So, out of the many talents that you've had and many championships that you've helped win, I applaud you for that. What is your most memorable talent and the most memorable championship that you've ever managed?
Well, that's a multi-part question. I would say one of my greatest moments was at the Gathering 1, when after I cut a promo with Missy Hyatt standing next to me, she decided to plant one on me. That was a bit of a surprise. That was 18-year-old me had a heart attack.
Okay.
As far as champions, obviously, the time I ever won a championship, which was when the Joker beat Kevin Zion, who later would join me. And we had a great run for a few years as the Age of Zion until he turned his back on me. But he's recently come back to Tennessee, and we'll see what the future holds. I also had a long battle, as I said, with Jerry Lawler. And I did finally beat Jerry Lawler one time with Tommy Rich before Burt Prentice reversed it the next day on television, which I still don't recognize. I won the USA, or Flawless Jake Lawless, under my tutelage, won the USA Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Championship at the Jerry Lawler 50th anniversary show in front of about 2,500 people in Jackson. That was pretty exciting. The first appearance I made at an SICW show, I led Kowalski to the Central States title in my debut there. That was pretty good. Getting to work with my good friend Lanny Poffo was a highlight. Getting to manage Katie Lee a few times. Getting to manage James Ellsworth, who was a good friend of mine, as well as Scott Steiner and Rhino and Carlito. All of that, it's incomparable. And of course, now I manage the Dogtown Underground. I manage the Legion of Lucky and TCW with Bam Bam Bundy, MJ Davis, Sean Hoodrich, Brad Bad. I manage the Sharp Dressed Men and Toby Farley in PWA. I manage Austin Wright. I manage all over the place. I manage a lot of big names. I've won a lot of championships, and he can call himself the king. But the fact is, I still beat him with Tommy Rich.
So there's another manager in SICW and Mid South, Stephen E.
My good friend.
How are have you guys faced each other, and how does that work out? I mean, he's a master of tricks, you're a master of tricks, he's a master of cheating, you're a master of cheating. How's that ever?
First of all, neither one of us is a master cheater. We are master strategists. We are masters on the mic. We are not cheaters. I've never seen Stephen E. cheat, and I know I've never cheated.
Okay, yeah.
Now, Stephen E. and I go about things differently. I don't happen to agree with everything he does. I personally am, a proud American, but I defend his right as free speech to do what he does with flags. That is ultimate political speech in this country. So while Dr. Drew is bemoaning it and saying he shouldn't do this, he can't do this, he's wrong. As a lawyer, he absolutely has the right to do that. Would I do it? No. Have I chosen to do that? No. But Stephen E. and I, we happen to look at a lot of things the same way. There are some things we look at slightly differently, but I respect what he does. I respect Attila Khan. I mean, who wouldn't? I respect Peyton Ayers. I respect the Uber Destroyer. And who wouldn't respect the 27-foot tall Amazon woman he's brought in? I mean, what a beauty she is. I mean, she's got her dad's eyes, incredibly sexy ankles. And I mean, she was on the cover of Miss Mongolia Monthly last week.
So you and Stephen E. invaded the Falls Count Anywhere podcast, huh?
I have absolutely no idea what Aaron Wallace is talking about, as I usually don't.
So it's okay for Stephen E. blows fireballs in people's faces.
Well, he hasn't thrown one in mine, so no harm.
I guess that's my question to you. You and him obviously have the same style or close to it. Are you afraid to run up against him? And if so, what would you do to make sure you win?
Again, we'll cross that bridge if and when we come to it. Stephen E. and I have an understanding which has worked out very well so far. We've both been there for a fairly lengthy time period, and so far that hasn't happened. Our men were all in the Battle Royal, and we didn't cross paths, and I don't expect that will happen anytime soon. He's got his goals right now. We've got our goals right now.
Dr. Red Tyler approves of this message. Dr. Red, you might want to watch a little bit of his videos to make sure you approve of his message, unless you're on the same line as he is of cheating to win and getting championships. So I'm just saying.
Hey, I think I like this guy.
You've earned his trust and respect. He said, trust him.
Well, as I said, obviously there are some people who actually have an idea of what's going on.
Can you share a little bit about your relationship and friendship with Genius Lanny Poffo and how Lanny introduced you to Piper and how that all unrolled?
As I said, Lanny Poffo was one of my closest friends in the world, and not just Lucky P's friend, but my real life friend. I've been to his house. I met his mother. He took me to the tree that Randy hit so I could pay my respects. When he moved to Ecuador, I spoke with Lanny probably on a weekly basis. As I said, I was his guest at the after party in WrestleMania in San Jose when Randy made it into the Hall of Fame. I never said this publicly until he did toward the end of his life on a couple podcasts, so now I don't have a problem saying it. But he gave me a lot of credit for, quote unquote, I think he went a little far in the way he described it, but he would say that I basically saved him. I don't know that I did that, but I definitely helped his Hall of Fame speech because I talked him out of including something in the speech that he was going to add a couple more paragraphs and was going to make a political statement, and I talked him out of it because I don't think that was the appropriate time or place. And he listened to me and he took it out. But so Lanny was my very close friend, but Roddy Piper was my idol, hero, whatever you want to call it, growing up. And I had met him a few times at various conventions, but it was never very long and usually fairly rushed. But WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans, they were keeping fans out of the hotel where the WWE stars were. And this was before I got involved in wrestling. So I didn't really know very many people, but I knew Lanny. And he basically got me and a friend of mine named Jack from Amsterdam through security because we were meeting Lanny for dinner. And we went into the restaurant, and the only people in the restaurant were Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, and his son Colt. Literally, those were the only three people in the restaurant. So Lanny took me over to Roddy Piper, and while my friend Jack videoed it, I basically drooled all over the man for a couple minutes and told him what he meant to me, told him how much I appreciated everything he did, and he was very receptive. Gave me a big hug. I have the whole thing on video. It's one of my cherished memories in this business, and it was before I even got into it. So.
I'm going to say this. I'm kind of jealous about that. I hope here next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday I'll be in St. Augustine, Florida, with the River City Wrestle Convention. I get to meet Sting and as a meet and greet thing, but I hope people come up to my table and somehow, I meet some great wrestlers and talent. So
I've always said that one of the things that amazes me is how I've literally become friends with some of the people who I grew up watching and patterning after. I'm friends with Downtown Bruno. I'm friends with Rikishi. I'm friends with Jimmy Hart. In fact, when Lanny passed away, Jimmy actually called me to fill me in on some of the details because he knew how close I was to him. So it's pretty amazing. It's a very, very interesting business.
So I take care of kids like we talked to earlier over chat, and they have some questions. It's just random shoot questions, okay?
Bring them on.
Favorite food?
Sushi, Chinese food, and swordfish.
So if you ate pizza, does pineapple belong in pizza?
I don't mind pineapple on pizza. I'll put pretty much anything on pizza except green peppers. I don't like green peppers.
Okay. Favorite book?
I got very into the Left Behind series, and I ended up listening to all of that on audiobook while I drive because I drive all over the state, and I drive to various wrestling shows. I'm not a big fan of getting on planes. I also love all John Grisham novels. I've read most, if not all of them.
Favorite movie?
Field of Dreams, absolute, no question about it, is number one. The Blues Brothers is number two. Animal House is number three. And Monty Python and the Holy Grail is number four.
I can tell those two or three.
You can tell I've answered that one before.
Yeah, well, I can tell those would be the two or three of them would be what you would pick because of the sunglasses and your bald head. So
Balding's
head. Sorry. Favorite sports teams? Detroit Pistons. Okay, move on.
Yeah, I don't think so. The Red Sox, the Celtics, the Patriots, and the Bruins.
All right. Favorite? Okay, so what's your Mount Rushmore of managers?
My Mount Rushmore of managers. As I try to get back on this thing here. Well, obviously, if I'm not including myself, Paul Heyman, because I think he's, like I said, the greatest mic man in history. Jimmy Hart, because I've learned a lot from him personally. Bobby Heenan, because I think he did something that I am enjoying doing, and he did it better than anybody, which is both manage and be a color commentator. And then if I had to pick a fourth, it's very hard to pick a fourth one, because there are so many different people who did so many different things on so many different levels. So I suppose out of an abundance of modesty, I'll go back on my own word and put myself up there fourth.
Okay. So can you talk about the Gathering Convention in Charlotte, North Carolina, your experiences at this convention over the years?
Absolutely. I know the promoter, Martin D'Amato, and he puts on a fantastic convention. It's called The Gathering, not to be confused with The Gathering of Juggalos. This is a wrestling convention where he brings in a lot of stars that don't generally do a lot of the conventions. It is difficult for me, having been involved as long as I have and having been to virtually every WrestleCon they've ever had, to go to these conventions now and meet a whole lot of people I've never met before. But at the Gathering, that often happens. And this year is no different. This year, now I have met Kevin Von Erich, but a lot of people haven't, and he's going to be there. Misty Blue Sims is going to be there. I've never met her. Iceman King Parsons is going to be there. I've never met him. Al Perez is going to be there. I have met him. But Brian Adias, I've not met him. In fact, it may be Brian Adias I'm thinking of, not Al Perez. But Brian Adias is going to be there, and I've never met him. So they bring in names every year that, Ken Resnick hosts it, who's also a great guy I know pretty well. So, and every year they have a big wrestling show. They got Q&As, and they have a big show, which this year the main event has been announced as a 4-way cage match between the reigning T-Mart champion, Kerry Morton, Ricky Morton's son, the former champion, Nate the Great, Courtney, and of course, my man, Bam Bam Bundy, who will be the next T-Mart champion.
That's impressive. So we got Aaron Ant Wallace to chime in again. Well, why is it okay for Stephen E. don't want the Bruiser Brody Memorial Trophy and ship it to Dubai? And is that called forfeiting the trophy?
I don't think he said he didn't want it. I think he said that his investors wanted it as a trophy. If you win it, it's yours to do with whatever you want for the year. So he won it through Attila. If his investors want it, then he's going to give it to his investors. They pay the bills. He who has the gold makes the rules.
What's your hot take on Andrew Anderson?
I have worked with Andrew Anderson. In fact, I've even handed Andrew Anderson Kevin Sullivan's golden spike. So I have respect for Andrew Anderson.
Awesome, man. He's been on the show before, so I just had to ask that question.
Not a problem.
So SICW, so one of my bucket lists is to get up to SICW and meet all you guys. I couldn't get to FanFest 2. I've been with SICW and Herb Simmons for about a year and a half with that stuff. I couldn't get to wrestle to FanFest 2. Is there hopes at all for FanFest 3?
You'd have to ask Herb Simmons, but given the fact that we had such a great turnout for FanFest 1 that they demanded FanFest 2, and given the fact that we had a great turnout for FanFest 2, and there are a whole lot more stars and legends to come, you never know.
So the Hall of Fame inductee, Bob Orton, right? I've heard that you've got smacked with his cast several times. How's that feel?
Again, you're wrong. I've been hit with this cast one time, not several times. And that he took offense to me simply speaking the truth to him. I told him that, I never forgave him and that he sucks for turning on Roddy Piper. He turned on him back, around WrestleMania 3, between 2 and 3, turned on him, joined Adrian Adonis, and how'd that work out for him? Not too well. Adrian Adonis got bald and Roddy Piper went off to make They Live.
Okay. SICW NASCAR, you going to be part of that?
I'm from Boston. I'm not a big racing fan.
Okay. That's this weekend. So I guess huge crowds will be there. SICW is going to put on some good shows as part of that festival. So
the LA Hustlers, the LA Hustlers are enjoying a well-deserved vacation. Kowalski and Axe Allwart are studying tape. The professionals, are out breaking necks and cashing checks. It's going to be a great show, and everyone around there should go. But I'm going to be with TCW this weekend in Selmer, Tennessee, winning another championship and managing the beautiful and talented Bashley Bones. Couldn't miss that.
So Aaron Wallace chiming in. That's why Lucky P. Larson is scared of Ludacris and the big and rich.
First of all, I'm assuming Big and Rich from the caterwauling I've heard is a country act. I could not care less about country music. I can't stand country music. Uh, and the only thing I know about Ludacris is he's in a State Farm commercial. I'm not afraid of anybody.
All right. So what do you think it makes the SICW TV show so interesting? And I already know this answer. So
Well, that's easy. The color commentary.
There you go. And
What else?
What else? I mean,
you don't know how many people I've had literally tell me they watch that show not only for the great wrestling action, but for the brilliant entertainment, comedic timing, and one-liners from Lucky P. Larson Esquire. And yes, some even acknowledge the back and forth between me and Dr. Drew.
And I will say this. I mean, this is me being honest and not no bullshit anywhere. I grew up in the 80s watching wrestling when Jesse the Body, Gorilla Monsoon, Vince McMahon even were at the front. They were interviewing at the ring. They were, color commentaries, everything like that. And there's few promotions I cover, like CWF, Rockwall. I would talk with Mid States, you guys. And what you guys do is you bring old school wrestling feel to it. And that, I applaud you guys for that. That is such an amazing thing. I like that, and it's just like it brings you back to the days when I was a kid watching the show. So.
Well, as I've said, on a personal level, I don't like Herb Simmons because I think that he's unfair. He is biased against the Dogtown Underground, let alone Devastation Incorporated. But as a promoter, I give credit where credit is due. As I've said, SICW is by far, without question, without equal, the best wrestling promotion in the Illinois/St. Louis area.
I believe Lucky P. Larson should be replaced from color commentator Danny Boy Hawkins and Ron Powers.
Terrific. And then the ratings will tank, and then he'll have nothing to watch. Aaron, go back to your coloring books.
Curtis Wild wants to know, when is he going to make me and Wildfire a sandwich?
I got a sandwich for Curtis Wild right here. And the next time Wildfire tries something, trust me, Missy Hyatt is just waiting to come here and take care of Wildfire. When all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, when everything falls into place, I may not be the one to take down Wildfire, but Missy Hyatt sure as hell can.
Well, that's interesting because you know what he says? He says they don't think he's friends with Missy Wyatt.
Who's Missy Wyatt?
Missy Hyatt. Sorry, I read that wrong.
Okay. Well, they can think what they want. I would say that since you're going to say that all my evidence would be doctored, just like I told you, I know for a fact that all those allegations you have are. When I bring Missy Hyatt with me, I guess that's the only thing that will shut them up.
Absolutely. So, Aaron, did Travis Cook punch Wildfire in the face with a closed fist?
I believe that at one point, Travis Cook, the Hands of Stone, did knock out Wildfire. I think it's because, she didn't deliver on a meal she was supposed to bring him. Either that or she's just a terrible, terrible cook, and he got food poisoning.
So here's my last question for Lucky P. Larson. What's coming up for Lucky P. Larson Esquire? Tell the fans what's up and where they can find you.
Well, as I said, this weekend I'll be in Selmer, Tennessee, and then in a couple weeks I'll be in Jackson, Tennessee. That's both for Tennessee Championship Wrestling, TCW. I will be back with SICW the beginning of July when the LA Hustlers will be there, and rumor has it they may be facing a familiar foe. We'll have to see. I also, will be at most of the SICW shows from that point forward. I also am with Pro Wrestling Alliance. I also will be at the Gathering beginning of August when Bam Bam Bundy wins the T-Mart Championship. And of course, you can find Lucky P. Larson Esquire. Join the over 4,000 and counting followers on Lucky P. Larson Esquire on Facebook. There is still a Legion of Lucky YouTube channel, believe it or not, which has some of the old USA Championship Wrestling shows, not to mention some of my greatest promos and a few words of wisdom from me. But generally, if you're looking for Lucky P. Larson Esquire, go to the Facebook page. There's also a Legion of Lucky Facebook page too, but primarily Lucky P. Larson Esquire on Facebook.
Thank you again, sir. One more time, thanks for Lucky Pete Larson Esquire, manager of Stars. Thank you for coming to the show today. I'm going to close the show by playing some music, but please stay down here. Don't go. Don't log off, man. I want to talk to you in person. Okay. So,
and of course, if anybody else wants to buy one of these T-shirts, a whole new batch came out. They are going fast. So shut up. You might learn something. Send me a message on Lucky P's Facebook page. We'll get you a T-shirt.
Awesome, man. Thank you for your time. Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Thank you for another interesting conversation with SICW, our manager, TCW manager. He's all over the mid states. He's from Boston. Don't hold that against him. They will lose. So if you want to send Lucky Pete Larson a box of tissues, you'd probably ask him for his address on his Facebook page. So I'm Scott Rogers. I'm Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. And again, yeah, I see that. I see it. I'm good. I mean, I'm not saying nothing bad about Boston Celtics, but I don't think they got to get. I don't think they can take the Mavs this year. I'm just being honest.
As I said, you're entitled to be wrong.
That's Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. And again, Lucky P, don't go anywhere. And Huge Pop Wrestling fans, thanks for all the support. I don't know if much is going on next week for Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. We will be live at River City WrestleCon, June 7th and 8th in St. Augustine, Florida, going live from there. Austin Aries will be in our booth with us, and I give thanks for you again, Lucky P, SICW, and Herb Simmons, and Huge Pop is out.
All my dogs, make some noise up in this house!
Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your head is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your head is knocked out.
Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with the devil, because when he's dealing with you, you cannot get on this level.
Fight with Adrian Whispers like a fight with a king. It's like a fight with an army. They got the tanks and everything.
He's leaving bruises and stitches, possibly leaving you crippled, cause when he sets up the table and sends you straight through the middle.
6 sadistic free, beat that ass with a light bulb. Leave a piece of glass embedded in the back of your skull.